In 1627, Jija Bai, Shahaji Bhosle's strong-willed and devout first wife, gave birth to her second son Shivaji at Sivaneri Hill Fort near Junnar, Pune. Named after the local goddess Shivaji, Shivaji had a difficult childhood. His father Shahaji was frequently away fighting against the Mughals and Bijapur Adil Shahi for control over the crumbling Nizam Shahi territories. Jijabai was once captured by the Mughals but was released on the intervention of her maternal side family working with the Mughal. She, along with her infant son, was left neglected in the safe fort. Gradually, Sahaji distanced himself from Jijabai and favored his second wife Tuka Bai Mohite and her son Venkaji. The elder son of Jijabai, the favorite of his father Sambaji, also started living with him. Therefore, Shivaji grew up isolated as a mateless child without a brother, sister, or father, forming a deep bond with his mother, whom in due course he revered like a deity. This isolation also fostered his independence and self-reliance from an early age. In 1636, Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan signed a treaty with the Sultan Muhammad Adil Shah of Bijapur for the dismemberment and absorption of the erstwhile Nizam Shahi state of Ahmednagar Daulatabad, along with the expulsion of Shahaji, who was leading descent from the Nizam Shahi side from the Deccan areas. In a rapidly changing environment, earlier Shahaji had joined the Bijapur court for safety. Accordingly, as per the agreement, Bijapur sent him on a new mission to the south in Karnataka campaign as an important Bijapur commander. But before leaving, Shahaji secured his family's Jagir in Pune from Adil Shah of Bijapur, who was the new master of the area after overtaking some part of the defunct Nizam Shahi. Shahaji appointed an honest and able administrator, Dadaji Kondadeva, to manage it. Further, as per instruction, Dadaji brought Jijabai and Shivaji to Pune, a desolate area at that time, and built a house for living for them. Though Shivaji and his mother received only subsistence allowance, Dadaji held the full administrative control as Shahaji agent. In 1639, Shahaji was granted Bangalore and the nearby area as a new Jagir by Adil Shah for his contribution to the successful South Bijapur campaign. And after a long wandering, at last Shahaji got a second home. Soon in 1640, Jijabai wrote to her husband to marry his 12-year-old son and make able provision for a first-grade nobleman's son, as he cannot be left on subsistence allowance like an illegitimate son. She argued that all the wealth will pass to Tukabai's son Venkaji, who lived with them, along with his elder son Sambaji. Shivaji will get nothing. Thus, a compromise was reached and Shivaji was made the agent of Pune Jagir with full ownership promised after the Shahaji death. In 1642, Shahaji also arranged the marriage of Shivaji to Sai Bai Nimbelkar in Bangalore and made him part of Pune's administrative cabinet. However, Shivaji only gained effective full control after Dadaji Kondadeva's death. Like Akbar, Shivaji was not lettered, but Dadaji arranged education for Shivaji as proper to his birth. He mastered Hindu epics, the Ramayana, Mahabharata and Gita through recitation, which ingrained deep religious and cultural values. However, his real education was in martial arts and horsemanship. He was a good archer and marksman, skilled in the use of a spear and various swords and daggers of the time. By 16, Shivaji's inner drive for independence intensified and he began associating with lawless individuals, engaging in plundering activities in Konkan region, for which he favored the Mawalis, hillmen from the Mawal region near Pune, for their loyalty and intelligence. With them, Shivaji wandered over the Sahyadri range along the maze of river valleys, thus hardening himself to a life of privation and strenuous exertion, in turn getting intimate knowledge of his people and country. He now began loving more freedom than loathsome life of a servile luxury under the pay of a Muslim king of Bijapur, where inconstancy, intrigue and bloodshed stained the royal court. Even Mughals were not better option, as with their better resources and organization, it was unlikely that Deccanis, both Hindu and Muslim, would enjoy a normalcy. From the beginning, Shivaji had the firm opinion that he had the best right to hold what Shahaji had in his hand while floating with the wreckage of erstwhile Nizam Shahi, whose Shahaji was regent and which was denied by the nepotism of Mughal and Bijapur with the treaty for dividing the Nizam Shahi territories among themselves. He was of the view that he could create an independent homeland for his people. And the right moment came, when in 1646, Sultan Muhammad Adil Shah fell seriously ill and lingered like that for 10 years, not participating in serious state businesses. While his noblemen continued the Karnataka campaigns, Queen Bari Sahiba took control of the Bijapur court. This was an opportunity for Shivaji. He took over Torna fort from the Bijapuri commander in 1646, where he found a big treasure with which he built a new fort nearby and named it Rajgarh. He also sent vakils to the Bijapur court explaining that he was doing this for the improvement of the area and offered significantly larger rents. But during the progress, Bijapur forbade the work, and a letter was dispatched to Sahaji, who clearly replied to Bijapur that his son had not contacted him in this regard. At the same time, Sahaji asked Dadaji and his son to cease the efforts and explain. Further, Shivaji also took over the fort of Chakkan and Fort Kondana near Pune, bribing the local officer. Old Dadaji died in 1647, and Shivaji now became master of his own at the age of 20. In June 1648, Shivaji, taking advantage of disputes between the son of dead Kiladar of the strategically important fort of Purandar, south of Pune, treacherously captured the fort, murdering the old Kiladars, the Raos. However, Shivaji's first small beginning of territorial expansion was suddenly checked when he came to know that his father was imprisoned in Jinji, where he was participating in a siege and was disputing with the Bijapuri commander. This may be at the instance of Bijapur, who soon asked to dispatch him in confinement to Bijapur. Seeing his father's life in danger, Shivaji found himself in a dire situation and realized that diplomacy was the sole solution. At that time, Mughals were only strong enough to intimidate Adil Shah. Accordingly, Shivaji wrote to Prince Murad, the viceroy of Deccan, for pardoning the past deed of Shahaji against the Mughal and expressed willingness to join the Mughals with Jagirdari of Junar and Ahmednagar district. Prince Murad responded positively and asked them to present properly through their envoy for submission to Emperor Shah Jahan. In the meantime, other development also contributed to the Shahaji release. Earlier, Adil Shah of Bijapur dispatched two forces in two different directions, one to Bangalore, capture Shahaji's elder son Sambhaji, and other to Kondana to defeat and capture Shivaji. However, Sambhaji successfully defended Bangalore, and at the same time, Shivaji defeated the army of Fateh Khan near the foothill of Kondana. Thus, failing with force, Adil Shah moved to diplomacy, and on the joyous eve of the birth of heir of Adil Shah, Shahaji was released with certain terms. And in due course, Shahaji further made Adil Shah agree to send him back to Bangalore to quell the revolt in which he lost Sambhaji. Until his death in 1660, he remained in the south with not much connection with Shivaji. After his father's release, Shivaji focused on expanding his control over Ghat Mahata and Konkan region. A major obstacle was the Principality of Javli in northwestern Satara district, ruled by the powerful More family under Bijapur, supported by a strong Mawali army. Their control of key Konkan crossings and passes hindered Shivaji's plans to push south and unify the Mawalis. Unable to control them directly, Shivaji devised a treacherous plan under the pretext of his marriage proposal. He infiltrated Javli, captured and executed Chandra Rao More and his family. This calculated act of murder and betrayal secured Javli for Shivaji, providing both wealth and thousands of Mawali infantrymen, significantly strengthening his position. He built the Pratapgarh fort nearby and later captured the formidable Raigarh fort, which would become the Maratha capital. Shivaji also seized Supa by replacing his father's brother-in-law from second wife along with the Baramati and Indapur, completing his control over the Pune region with the forts, valleys and rivers. The death of Adil Shah on November 6, 1656 further created opportunity that benefited Shivaji's territorial ambitions.